I am going to show you my audio setup that I use for interviews, for podcast setup, for any time that I'm doing a narrative. This is the setup that I use. At the core of my audio setup is the Zoom F6. This is where everything gets recorded. This is where all the microphones get plugged into. This is where the magic happens. All right. Without this little device here, you're not gonna get anything recorded. And so I have recently just upgraded from the Zoom H4n to the Zoom F6, and I absolutely love this thing. And so at the core of my audio setup is the Zoom F6. If you haven't seen what's in my audio case, I want you to go check out this video right here, and then come back and watch this one. All right, but you have to come back. All right, so this is the Zoom F6. Once I have my Zoom F6 set up, as you can see right here on the back of it, I have a Sony NPF battery. But if you don't have a Sony NPF battery, that's okay, because this thing also takes AA batteries on the inside. I'm just gonna show you that real quick. All right, so it has a case on the inside, and there is 4 AA batteries that goes inside. All right, and then you just drop it right in, and it's there. But for me, I like peace of mind. So that when I'm doing an event, or if I'm doing a podcast or an interview or anything like that where I have to capture narrative, I don't want to think about it. I absolutely don't want to think about it. So what I do, I get a Sony NPF battery, stick it on the back here, and this will last me all day. I don't have to worry about it, because even if the Sony NPF battery dies, there's another 4 inside that will be as a fail-safe. And that's one thing for me. I always have a fail-safe in my equipment. In my cameras, I have the battery installed, even though I'm using a V-mount battery. Things happen, and I never want to be in that place of where I'm so focused on something else and the battery dies, and because the battery dies, then a part of your interview is missing, or just something happens. So I always leave a battery inside of my equipment, cameras, recorders, even though I have another battery on the outside, just as a fail-safe. That's just me. I like to be cautious. All right. So once I have my battery set up and my Zoom F6 ready to go, if you look on the top, you see a plate here. This is a top plate. All right. This plate actually comes with the Zoom F6, so you don't have to go out and get an extra plate. This actually comes with it. And what I do with this plate is that I stick my lav mic receiver on the top. So this is my DDT Theos dual receiver, and on the bottom of it, it has a hot shoe. And what you can do is literally just take this, put it right on top, and I'm gonna screw that right in. I think that's going the right way. And that just sits right on top, just like that. All right. And like I always say, even in my receiver, there are 2 batteries inside here. However, just to make sure that I have myself covered, on my USB, on my battery, there is a USB-C out. So get my trusty cable. So I have a USB to USB-C cable, And I plug that right into the side there. And then if you look right on the side of the receiver, there is a USB-C port, and that is to power my receiver. And as you can see, as I plug it in, it lights up. So right now, this whole setup is just ready to go. I don't have to worry about the battery power. It is going to last me all day, and it's just going to sit there. I don't have to worry about it. All right. So once I have that set up, what I do now is that I go ahead and I turn on my transmitters. And one of the reasons why, before I even plug in the the transmitters into the Zoom F6, is that this Theo system is so powerful. Whenever I go into a area, wherever I'm gonna record, once I do anything else, rather than, plugging the lav mics or anything like that, what I do is that I scan for the best frequency in that area, because this system allows me to do that. It doesn't just stick to a 2.4 gigahertz and then that's it. If anything is interrupting that channel, then you're stuck with that. This system allows me to scan for the best radio frequency in that area so that I don't have any interruptions when I'm recording. All right, so that's what I'm gonna do right now. I'm gonna go into the menu and I'm gonna go frequency, and then I'm gonna go scan. So right now what that is doing is it's scanning for the best frequency in the area. And as that's doing that, I am going to prepare the transmitters to be paired to the receiver and get the best frequency, because each transmitter has its own frequency. All right, so right now it's telling me that it's ready to get paired, and I am going to pair the first transmitter. All right, so that is doing that right now, and basically it is very simple. It is very, very simple. All right, now the first one, now I'm gonna do the second one. All right, so like I'm telling you, it is very, very, very simple. This is why I love this system, and I just love the way it works. All right, so right now both transmitters are on different frequencies. So as you can look right here, you can see that both of them are on different frequencies. All right, so those are ready to go. So now that those are ready to go, what I'm gonna do, I have my trusty cables here. So now there is transmitter 1, transmitter 2. On the receiver, it says A and it says B. Right? If you can see right there, it says A and B. So what I'm gonna do is that I'm gonna plug the transmitter 1, which is A, I'm going to plug that into input 1 on my Zoom F6. All right, I can actually close that and finish with that. So now the transmitter 1 is plugged into input 1 on the Zoom F6. So that is ready to go. So now we're gonna plug the transmitter 2 into channel B. And then this is just me being picky and just wanting to be a little different, I guess. So I put my channel 2 or B into channel 4 actually. So my receiver 1 is plugged into channel 1 on the Zoom F6, and my transmitter 2 is plugged into channel 4 on my Zoom F6. You don't have to do it that way. But I just do it that way because the cables, I don't want to put too much pressure on them. And for me, it just looks a little better. That's just me, all right? But you don't have to do it that way. So right now, the transmitters are ready to go. Everything is plugged in and everything is connected, all right? So after that is done, you can go ahead now and you can connect your lav mics. And as I connect my lav mics and those are good to go, you might be wondering, what is this little thing here? This little box here is what brings everything together, because the Zoom F6 receives and sends timecode. My DDT Theos lav mic system also receives timecode, and all my cameras that I use, they receive timecode as well. So what this little box here does, it sends timecode and syncs everything together. If you ever ran into like an issue in post when you come to sync multiple cameras and you run into an issue where the audio is not syncing or everything is just not coming together, I highly suggest that you start using timecode. Find yourself a timecode box and start using that. You don't have to get this one. This is the DDT TC1. There's also different ones on the market that they work well, but this is the one that I like, the DDT Theos TC1. This is the one that I like. And this video is not sponsored, by the way. I just loved it. I bought this with my own money, and I really, really love the product. All right. So what we're gonna do now is I'm gonna get my phone, because the DDT Theos system comes with a app which allows you to sync the timecode box with the transmitters so that everything syncs up together. All right. So what I'm going to do right now is that I am going to connect everything together. And just like that, it's connected. As you can see right there is that the lav mics 1, 2, and the timecode box are all right on there. The receiver doesn't show up in the app. I don't know why. It doesn't show up in the app. But the important thing is that your lav mics show up along with the timecode box. And what you do, you hit sync all right there. And so what happens now is that it shows up with the time, the date, and you have to make sure that whatever frame rate that you're recording in, that you make sure that you put in the correct frame rate, because if you don't do that, then they're not going to sync together. So for any narrative work, you're always going to want to shoot in 23:9:8 unless it's a special one-off that you're doing something else. But 23:9:8 is what you want to be in. So once you set all of that, you hit sync. As you can see right there, it's starting to sync up. 3 of 3. It's found everything and it's done. So now all the devices are synced. Everything is on their own frequency and it is ready to go. All right. So once I do that, I take my timecode box and you just kind of put this cable in, right? And that's all it takes. And then now, right on the side, if you look right on the side there, it says timecode in and out. So what do? I plug that right into the side of the F6. And then what you do is that you go right into the menu of the Zoom F6, and then you go down to timecode, back up, and then you hit timecode, and then you go down to jam, and then you hit that, and you say jam. And then now, back out of the menu. And if you look right there, it says 1755. So that means that every device right now should have time code that reads 1755. So if you look right on the top of the app right there, it says 1756 because it just went up, right? If you can see it when I put it up there, I know it's very, very small, but you should see right on the corner there, it says 1756. So everything right now is synced with timecode. Perfect. So whenever I go to the computer to edit, all of these files should just come together with timecode and should not give me any issue. If you want to see a post-production workflow of how I bring all these files together once I sync it with my camera, leave a comment below and I will definitely do a video on post-production of how I bring everything together. All right, so now that everything is synced, what I do now is that I would take this box, timecode box, off, and then depending on how many cameras, if I'm using more than one camera, I would go to the, where's it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 camera, it doesn't really matter. You take this box and then you plug it into the cameras and it will take the time code that is already set on these devices. And once that is done, all you have to do is push record. And then you go from there and you leave it and you record. You stop as many times as you need to stop. It's not going to interrupt the time code. As long as there's power going to the devices and you don't shut them off, the time code will stay. So, I mean, that is basically my audio setup for capturing narrative work. I mainly use the lav mics. There are certain situations where I do use lav and boom or just a boom. And if I had to use a boom, I just connect right into one of the inputs. It already has phantom power and it just powers the microphone and it just captures the audio just like it would if I had the lav mics plugged in. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and hit that little bell just to notify you of when I upload more video. Thank you for taking your time to watch this video and have yourself a great, great day. See you in the next one.